like pop pop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yes.
think this time YouTube didn't broadcast that we had a scheduled event or something. Like people only found it through what's
Twitter.
it called? Twitter, where I tweeted it.
Ah,
Yeah,
right.
something maybe StreamYard, some buggy or something. Oh well. Are you ready?
Yup.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. Yes.
All right. Where's the button to turn off?
This is so professional. A good start. Oh,
Yeah, people are like,
yeah.
whoa.
Wow.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome everybody um, to the first release party of 2022. And yeah, we just released Home Assistant 2022.2 because we do date versioning. So it's February already. I don't know where January hit went. Um, but yeah, welcome everybody. Yeah, let's just start with introducing ourselves, just for the people that haven't watched the streams or that are not following every blog post and tweet that we put out, which I don't blame you. It's a lot. My name is Paolo Schoutse. I'm the founder of Home Assistant, and yeah.
Oh, okay.
Good.
Hi, I'm
Correct.
Frank, and yeah, yeah, sure. I'm Frank, and probably best known for at this point the release notes probably today. Yeah, I work on Home Assistant.
Yeah.
I'm Pascal Wissely. I'm working on a supervisor, operating system, and other stuff in the background.
My name is Zach. I do YouTube, of course, as many people know me. But I'll be doing YouTube for Home Assistant. I'll be doing front end for Home Assistant and definitely other stuff. But it's good to be here on the first stream of the year, and good to be started.
Awesome. Well, I mean, this was a monster release. Like we we thought we would skip the January release because we always take like, there's a forced break. We don't do anything for 2 weeks. And so we thought, there would be nothing to release. It would be too close on the February release. And here we are with this is the biggest release ever. Like we've never seen something like this. Everything is breaking. Like we use Discourse for our comments, and it took like 6 minutes to import the blog post. GitHub gives us unicorns. Like API limits. Frank's been bashing his head on on his keyboard all day.
I couldn't even give me a list. I couldn't even ask GitHub, but like give me a list of all the changes. Just like that question, it just would die on me. It's
I mean,
this
also the
was
GitHub
intense.
action for building the image break.
Yeah, at this point
Yeah.
they do, right?
So the good news is we're not doing this again, I think. So that means next year, 12 releases for sure.
Wait, wait.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a lot. I mean, how many times did we almost break something?
Many times. Yeah, I also think the bigger releases are. I mean, we already went from 2 weeks to 1 month, and at this time it's 2 months. Like, just so much happens that like it's also a lot to grasp. To just like, hey, I'm gonna upgrade my Home Assistant today, and then you're like, whoa, I need to read this essay first to see what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of things that are able to be missed
Yeah.
Oh, it's so
because it
easy.
takes so long to read.
Yeah,
the
well,
benefit-
that's for us too, right? It's
The benefit for this long cycle is that the adoption rate is quite good. If you
Yeah.
look at analytics, a lot of
Right,
people
right.
went
Let me. I got it here. So this is. It looks
oh
kind
wow.
of wild. I mean, this is good, right? So a lot of people love updating Home Assistant. As you can see, I don't know. Can you guys see my cursor? Yeah, there you go. Right. Normally, whenever a new version is released, a lot of people update right away. So you see the old version going away, new version going up, and then slowly adopting. And then every month, we see the same kind of wave happening. Then December, we were actually already late, right? Because we did the State of the Open Home. We didn't do a release party. We didn't have a live stream in the sense that we just like sit around and talk like this. We actually had this whole organized event with like 8 different parties speaking. And so we released later. And so it was already a bigger wave. And now, I mean, this is just insane. right? Like 103,000 of our analytics instances, which is also, by the way, has grown to 136,000, is now on the latest version, which is the 74%. So that's actually really cool, good, because it means that like people are up to date, which is what I like to see. That means that it's easy to stay up to date, right? It means that that's good. Yeah. Oh, by the way, for people that are not aware of Home Assistant Analytics, this is opt-in. People can share their data, and we use this data to prioritize things, to see who's using which integrations, which are important, to talk to manufacturers to see like, hey, there's a lot of people using your stuff. Please make available a local API. And you can opt into Home Assistant Analytics during onboarding. And if you are already past onboarding because you've been using Home Assistant for a longer period of time, you can go to settings, and then somewhere in the bottom, there's I forgot which menu option. There you can find analytics. Yeah.
We changed it, so
Yeah.
Well, we didn't change it this release, right? Like we were planning on further improving the configuration menu, but we did a user test in between, and we didn't end up like the user test the results came in that late in the cycle that we didn't have enough time to kind of process it and apply it to Home Assistant. If you missed the user test, I can imagine. I'm just going to show my screen again. This is design.homeassistant.io. It's our design website where like it shows like, I mean, if you're working on Home Assistant, it shows all the different triggers. This is for designers and developers, and whatever. It's helpful for typing, but we also we put the output of our user test on this.
So it's fully interactive as you're looking at. Right.
Yeah, it's really cool. It uses the same engine as we use for a demo, so it's just like a JavaScript virtual Home Assistant instance, basically. But we have the full results of the user test also up here in design.homeassistant.io. So we haven't really launched this website yet. We've been kind of working on it, improving it. Matthias, who's working
to Matthias,
he's working full time on UX and Home Assistant, and he wants to make it look better. I mean, of course. And so
this will not be the final version, of course. Yes.
No. But it's a good start.
But if you do want to help out on UI UX, this is a good way to start. Helping us update these different pages and make them look better, as well as just working in the Discord with Matthias, asking questions, stuff like that.
Yeah, we have the Devs UX channel now in Discord. That is where a lot of the UX discussions happen nowadays. Lots of Figmas floating around.
Mm-hmm. You can also help if you help out on the survivals, which we do with UX.
All right. Should we go for the release notes? It's by the way, I just can highlight a comment. I misclicked here. How do I force a check so the new release will show? Boom, we fixed that one. And that will be Agile. Once you update to the new version, for the next version, there will be.
You can't do it this version, but like the next
next time, you will have a button for that.
Yeah. For now, you have to go to Supervisor System and click on Reload Supervisor.
It took me a moment to realize that, actually, because when I initially wrote like the first draft of the release notes, I actually wrote that you can now update it easily. No, you cannot. It's next release. It's like you have to.
Next time you can write
next.
That.
Yeah.
Or just wait an hour and then you see the update.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
No, because it's still building at this point. Some people asked, I don't see the update yet. So we use a platform called GitHub, where we build and publish our releases. And literally like 2 minutes after we pushed out the release, GitHub went down. So like talking about bad luck, right? So we restarted everything, and things are building right now. So the release is being built right now. Would take probably, hopefully, if everything goes right, another hour or so.
I mean, who knows if it's correlated? We publish a release and
Yeah, it could be, right?
There were
It's
a
just
lot
bad
of
luck.
stuff. A lot of
Shit
stuff.
happening.
So this was not like the most smooth release to push out. That's true. But it's building. It's coming. You get it. Promise. Pinky promise, I guess.
You
Then.
mean the
Same
year
here.
started, but things can going better?
Yeah, that's true. Well, nevertheless, I do think this release already is better. Should we share some notes or something?
yeah.
Do you have them? Should I? Like, I'm also monitoring the build, so maybe.
You mean this build?
Yeah, exactly that build. Well, I actually follow the stream, but yeah, I can share as well. By the way,
No,
well,
we
I
can.
cannot. Doesn't work.
Right, I got this.
Paul's got this.
Oh, if people haven't watched the State of the Open Home, you got to watch it. It's so good. Although the content, of course, it was from December, but like a lot of our people we work with that are like part of like, we presented our vision, the Open Home, and all the people we work with, like Z-Wave Jazz was there, WLED was there, Stanford was there, a lot of different people that are building in this space that we collaborate with, and it was a good show. And Dr. Z's was there.
Yeah, Dr.
did
Z's
so
was
cool.
a very cool part.
Yeah.
All right.
Brink actually got to talk with him for quite a while.
Yeah, that was fun, actually.
I want to go to Dr. Z's Hobbit House.
Yeah,
It's
That
on
would
my
be sick.
to-do list. But
definitely.
Release party stream from Dr. Z's.
Oh, so before you scroll by my introduction story, there's one little thing in there that I would like to point out, and that's like this year's focus point. You've published a blog post about. I mentioned that there, which is streamlining experiences. That's the focus of this year. Would you like to tell something about that, Paulus, maybe?
oh yeah, sure. Yeah. So, we've been focusing on making things easier for like, that's been always the slogan, right? For like on our release notes and these kind of things for the last couple of years. And we've made a lot of things easier, right? And when we say make things easier, it's not just like cut all the YAML and let's put everything in the UI. No, making things easier, we have, it goes everywhere. Everything became easier over time. It's easier to add integrations, easier to re-authenticate integrations if the password is expiring. It's been easier to write automations in YAML with like a lot of shorthand notations, extra functions, extra templates.
Debugging them, by the way, that was a big thing.
Debugging.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But kind of what has happened over the years is that like all these features are being added on top of Home Assistant, and it's not, they're great tools, but basically what happens with Home Assistant that we give you a bag of tools, and then every user we tell you go figure it out, right? And a lot of basic stuff people are figuring out all themselves again and again, and they're like, everybody's sharing like a slightly different version. The versions get outdated, and certain things just should work fine and great, and they should be more tighter integrated across integrations, right? So, for example, let's say you want to send a snapshot from your camera to a mobile phone in a notification. Well, that shouldn't be like, you shouldn't have to dig into how your camera works, how your notification target works. Is it Android, iOS? Where do I store the file? Like, that's the kind of stuff that should kind of just work. And so, with blueprints, we already tried to this was what kind of in that direction where like, hey, we want to offer people like a kind of a blueprint, like a whole package that you kind of configure and it solves a certain aspect. But we also want to put more of those things inside Home Assistant. So in this release, we've already been kind of just like, kind of polishing up things left and right. The thing that just jumps to mind now, for example, that we've streamlined and we're going to talk about later is like the media browser, where with Sonos you can see easily like Spotify, or you can play Plex, and that just works. So yeah, that's been kind of the focus of this year. And we're obviously like, 2 years, for the people that have been around for a while, 2 years ago, we did a month of what the heck, where like people were like, this sucks, or like this. People could basically write bug reports without like filling in all the information and just be like, why is this like this? This doesn't make sense. And basically this whole year will be kind of like a year of what the heck. We'll obviously also we're focusing on a lot of points right now that we think are important, but we're also gonna, obviously we're always talking to community, but we're also gonna do an actual month of what the heck, probably later this year in the summer or something like that. So yeah, streamlining experiences, that is going to be our focus for this year. So this doesn't mean there's not going to be any new features. In fact, I think that there will be definitely new features, but they will mainly exist to make existing features easier to use, for example, and just integrate it more tightly with all the other stuff.
Yeah.
It's like the goal is to make sure that you can get from point A to done in like 4 clicks, right? It's going to be really easy to just go about the Home Assistant dashboard, to go about the Home Assistant creation pages, very, very easy. And even
It's
anything
also
you ever
about
want to do.
it's also about consistency a lot, right? We did a lot of things like in here, but that isn't built in here yet, and then you have like this little inconsistency, not just in the UI, but also in things like if you're more an advanced user like doing YAML templates, for example, then it could be configured like so or like so, and it's called this there and that there, and it's not consistent at that point. So it's streamlining is more than UI or building new features or making things easier. And it's about delivering a consistent experience across the whole board, right? Like that's the way I look at it, at least. I think that is just cool. I think it's. Yeah, go ahead.
It's not just Home Assist, it's also our website or how beginners start with Home Assist. And I guess also a great start is the new video from Zach, which we maybe see later or also have on the release notes. Just make simpler to start with Home Assist and make all more natural.
Yeah, even onboarding, like you're saying, like making it easy to get started. Yeah,
it's just so cool. Like it's one whole year of what the heck. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, so hey, we're almost 20 minutes in and we haven't touched a single feature yet, right?
Oh, so let's do that. Long list.
It's quite something. Okay, updates from Nabukasa. We got some cool stuff that that Nabukasa did. Annual subscriptions are here. They're going to be US first. They're going to be priced at $65 annual price, and then the monthly price is going to go up to $6.50 for new subscribers today, and for existing subscribers in 3 months. And by the time that goes for existing subscribers, all the annual plans should have been rolled out worldwide. So you should also be able to go to the annual plan, which, So if you want to see more information, go to nabukasa.com. We got some extra information on how it all works right up there. And then we had some concerns from people that said, well, how do I pay? I don't have a credit card. With Stripe, we can actually support a lot of different payment providers that we haven't done in the past, but we will enable, like, for example, Ideal in the Netherlands and these kind of things. The other cool thing is the improved infrastructure. Pascal, you want to talk about this?
Yeah, sure. We released a new version of our relayer, which routing the message from Google and Alexa to your local Home Assist. And we improved that. It's now a lot faster, so you can speak to Alexa or Google, and it will be immediately react now. We also add more nodes around the world for our remote access. So if you access to your Home Assistant over our remote URL, then we just try to routing your data nearest possible to your location. So in an example, if you are in Germany and you're using the remote access, the data don't go to the USA and come back or the whole global. It's just inside Germany then.
Right. Yeah. And so there used to be people that experience some timeout issues, and those should be all solved. We've also, on the cloud side, we're also inside the cloud dashboard, inside your Home Assistant. We will now indicate if you have So Google can do local communication with your Home Assistant instance. If you use Google and you have a Google device on your network and you're talking to that Google device, if everything is correct, it can talk directly. But it's very easy to break. So now the Home Assistant cloud dashboard in Home Assistant will warn you if you have certain settings that are incompatible with local Google. And so you can resolve it, because then when you talk to Google, it will still go to the internet to do the speech to text, but after that it will talk locally to Home Assistant, so it's super fast. Hiring updates.
Hey, Zach.
Hey, Zach, yeah. Yeah, there's 2 new people joining Nabukasa. Zach is one of them. Of course, you've known him from like working on the Lovelace, the Home Assistant front end for a while. He promised drag and drop back in the days.
Why did you have to say that?
Oh, when is that ready, by the way? Zach? Like, it has been asked like 20 times already in the chat.
Yeah, in the chat every time, man. Every time.
Yeah.
But no,
So
Zach is
any
going to
questions?
he's going to help us further improve the front end, which is of course part of the streamlining experiences. He's also going to add more videos to our Home Assistant YouTube channel, right? Like, a lot of you people are watching this right now on the Home Assistant YouTube channel, and we don't really use it. Except for like our monthly stream. So some people are more visual learners, so we're going to try to see if we can publish more like short videos of like, how do you do this? How do you do that? And so Zach actually published his first video today. The
Short and sweet.
How to use a USB speaker with Home Assistant and then play audio that you store on Home Assistant from it. I don't know. Should we show it?
We'll get there in a second.
But dude, real quick, have to make sure to subscribe, because you're gonna want to get all those in your inbox.
He's the YouTube, right? Let's subscribe and hit the bell as well, right?
The other person joining is Mike Decatano. He has already been, he maintains the InfluxDB integration and has been active with add-ons and supervisor. And he's going to join and work mainly on the supervisor add-on kind of area of Home Assistant.
I'm really happy, and he helped me in the background to work on a supervisor and all the different parts of the supervisor. And I think it will be a great year. So I will not promise too much, but I guess Bluetooth user interface and that stuff should be now possible with this new power in the backend.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. So in case you were like, is this year going to be awesome? Yes.
Yeah,
Awesome.
definitely.
All right, who's ready for the first feature of 2022.2? Let me see if I can just increase. Look at this. There you go. So we've revamped the media browser panel. So if you are not familiar with the media browser panel, first of all, too bad, it's no longer called media browser, it's called media now. But the media panel, what it does is that a lot of media players that you might have in your system, Spotify, Sonos, or Cast, they can play media. But for you to pick media is sometimes like annoying or to do. So with the media what you can do with the media panel is that you can browse the content of this media player that it can play, and with a single click you can play it on the media player. So this screenshot is actually cool. This is Spotify, and I think this is Spotify hosted with, this is a Sonos speaker.
Yeah,
Frank?
this is my living room Sonos play bar, actually.
Right, so what happens now, if you have Spotify set up, you have Sonos set up, and also Plex set up, then if you are browsing your Sonos speaker, you can actually go through the media libraries of Plex and Spotify and directly play it on your Sonos speaker. So all that stuff is kind of like single, like built in. You don't have to you used to be having to find the share URL of your Spotify and then send it to Sonos or all these tricky things. And now it's right here. And on top of that, instead of just browsing, you can actually also control the player, which was a very natural step. And so, yeah, it's really, really powerful. And we have, besides, of course, different media sources like Plex and Spotify that host their own media, Home Assistant can also host media. So media players that support that has been extended. So Sonos, Roku, VLC via the Telnet interface, but also in the browser, can now all play local media that you host in your Home Assistant instance. So if you want, like that's like if you have the Samba add-on in Home Assistant, you can go to /media. It's like a share that's being exposed. You can just dump a bunch of music in it, and then with a single click, you can play that on your TV or on a Google Home Mini or on your Sonos speaker. Or if you have a USB speaker connected to your Raspberry Pi or Home Assistant Blue, you can play it over that USB speaker through the VLC add-on. So yeah, it's really cool, and this has actually been Zach's first thing, right? I think that you built as
Yeah,
an employee.
I think so. This year and as a Navicasa employee. But I think the biggest feature of this is, when is Frank dropping his next album?
Some people already noticed it. It's so cool.
After the release party, I need search for that on. For sure.
Yeah, I sneaked that one in. That's so, like 10 within 10 minutes after we did the blog post, there was already somebody in some channel on Discord like, hey, wait a second. So I was wondering how long it would take, but actually more people pick it up than I expected it. That's fun.
But this was a lot of fun to make. A lot of good redesign going in here. The media bar at the bottom is it's a great way, to actually play and see what's playing, and then also, be able to manipulate what's playing as you would on the media card. It's not done. We're still probably going to streamline this a bit more. But yeah, a lot better. And then if you're playing local media or any media on your web browser, will actually now play the music or those type of files in the media bar, not in a pop-up. So you can actually manipulate the sound down there as well.
Yeah. And we, this is, when we talk about streamlining experiences, this is really where multiple integrations kind of get together, and data and music from one integration made available to another integration. And so that is really cool. And for example, if you have Nest now supports also the media browser, and you can actually see the events that come in from like your doorbell or your cameras in the media browser, and then you can actually play them on on your Chromecast, because that is just a locally hosted media source that we then push to the Chromecast. So all that stuff is kind of coming together now, and it's really cool. There's some people saying like, when is this music service becoming available or that music service? The main important thing, of course, is that this music service has an API and it's integrated into Home Assistant. And then, of course, the other side, the player needs to support it, right? So, well, usually with Sonos, you're good because there's a lot of different music services supported. But yeah, so it's not easy to add a new music service, but Spotify and Plex are both they work, so that's really good. Let's see what is next. So this is, if you haven't watched it yet, in the release notes is a video from Zach kind of detailing how you can play media from a USB speaker connected to your Home Assistant installation. So that should make it, if you have your Raspberry Pi or Blue somewhere publicly where people are, you can now also, either do text to speech or other stuff to play there. All right, who wants to do this one?
I mean, Frank already talked about it a little bit.
I can continue on it. So every time I do the release, the first things that pop up on Twitter, Discord, community forums is, I don't see the release yet. When is it there? But the same happens when you release an add-on or the new OS version comes out, right? Everybody asks, why don't I see the update? And there are ways to check for updates, but those were hidden on different places. So what we did in this release is we made a little like menu in the top right of the top right corner of the configuration panel with a really well, it's genius really. It's just it's a check for updates button, and if there are updates, it will immediately show, and you'll be able to upgrade.
And this of course builds upon like last release. We already started showing the updates in the configuration menu on top, and so that's here. This is what happens, right? You hit check for updates, and they will appear.
If they are published, so that's
Yes, if they are published,
right? Yeah, that's one thing. Is we release the release notes and the release party or whatever. As we send out the builds, right? But the builds do take sometimes hours to actually build. But we want to put all the release notes so you know what's coming. So just because it's not there yet, check for updates. Wait a couple hours, it will get there for sure.
Yeah,
well, now I expect an update, and then we just be like patience.
Patience. Oh, that would be cool.
It's going fast, so it's going better.
It's pretty fast nowadays. By the way, it used to take around 20 hours to build. Back in the day, it's now 40 minutes, 15 minutes. So it should be another 15 minutes or so, and then it should be available for everybody. By the way, it's building right now.
And again, this is in this release, so you won't see it to find this release. You will see it to find the next release. Or any hot fixes.
You have to upgrade to get that button.
Yeah, but it's a good button.
Yeah.
Did you hide the button next to it?
Yes. I didn't want to do a spoiler, so that arrow was over a new button.
I'm not spoiling anything.
No, but it's actually true. I deliberately did that.
I just noticed it now.
That's funny.
All right, Frank, you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, it's kind of a bit of my frustration, I guess. So. As some of the people might know, I've been working on Tuya a little bit in the past months. And one thing about the Tuya integration is that there are a lot of different devices out there. And they also have like little differences in data they send. But it's really hard to gather that data as a user. And for me, as a developer, trying to help somebody with an issue, it's really hard to explain to them how to provide the data that I need to fix an issue. And so I was looking for a solution for that. And then we started discussing with each other, and we concluded like, hey, wait a minute, this is something that more developers are struggling with, like getting data from the users to fix an issue, like getting integration info, like low-level diagnostic data from Home Assistant for a specific device or integration to fix a bug or issue. So that's how the Home Assistant Diagnostics has been born, this release. On the device page, if an integration supports it, by the way, that's important thing number one. Then you will find like the download diagnostics button on the device page, but also on the integration card. If you go to integrations, there's like the little triple dotted menu. There's also download diagnostics for the whole integration, and that contains like a text file which you can open and read. And that's a file you can share with the developer to help him diagnose issues that are there. Yeah, that's basically what it does. In short, I guess.
And like it's good to note that like every integration needs to create their own diagnostics, so that every integration can also already redact certain data. So, for example, if it is a WLED device, we'll make sure that the connected Wi-Fi network is not included in the diagnostics, but is redacted. And so all the personal information should be stripped out. It's also stored always as JSON, and it's a text file, so you can open it and it's formatted, so it's easy to read. So you can also, verify that no personal information is in there. And once you then you can just drag and drop it inside the GitHub issue form, and it will be made available to the developers.
Yeah. So during the beta, we actually enjoyed this feature already quite a lot. There are over 60 integrations that already supports this. That includes like all the big ones, like Sonos, WLED. I did, which Tuya, of course, because that drove it. But like a lot of them actually supported now. ZWaveJS as well, I think.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And what during the beta actually, like I think we were an hour into the first beta, like an hour after the first beta was released, like the first diagnostics came in for Tuya, and I was actually able to pinpoint and fix an issue that was been there for like months already and didn't know why, and it was clear at single glance what was going on. So that's really cool, and I'm really looking forward to people being able to share this and fix issues.
Or help developers to find bugs.
Yeah.
In other systems, what people, the reason why, like how other systems could do it, like is you just automatically upload all your error reports with all the diagnostic data automatically. And so we don't do that kind of stuff. We don't ever send data to the cloud without like you opting in. And so for us, this was like we finally realized what we were missing, and this is our solution, so that you can still share when something goes wrong, and we can people can look at it, fix it, and
it's also really transparent, right? It's a text file. You can open it, look at it. You can decide if you want to share it or not, and I think it's really helpful. It's not really like a end user feature, right? It's not like this is going to change how your Home Assistant works. But if you have an issue, like that could make all the difference.
We have also diagnostics on Supervisor, which you can opt in. In that case, you use Sentry, which upload it to a cloud, but there are also all personal details should be ditched out before.
Yeah. All right, next feature. Ooh, nice. It's it's one of those little things that just is kind of just a delight, and I'm happy that we added it. I think Frank, you added this one, right?
Yeah.
It's a link, and it links to our GitHub. So if you have an issue, you can see if there's a known issue for it, and that's it.
It's so simple.
Yeah. And if you see there is already an issue, don't open a new one.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too.
Well, that's a good thing.
That's the goal, right? Yeah.
Yeah. No, but it is hard to find the issue tracker for some people, right? Like GitHub is still, even though they're really doing their best, by the way, and I think GitHub is pretty accessible actually, but it's still like a bump to make, right? If you go to the Home Assistant issue tracker, there's like I don't know, what is it, 1,000 issues open at this point, and how do you find the one that applies to you, right? Or how do you know it's an issue that's matching what you are having or experiencing at that point? So what this does is if you click that link, it will open up. Like I clicked in this screenshot, I clicked on Sonos. So if I would click on the Sonos known issues, it will show me the issue tracker of Home Assistant filtered with issues for Sonos. So you will be looking at a filtered smaller list on things that's going on specifically for Sonos. So I think that helps a lot.
And eventually, of course, alerts should also kind of flow into here.
All right.
One way or the other. Either here, well, we're still working out how to do that, because as you can see, this menu is also getting really big. Like we were really happy back in the days, we had individual pages for each config entry. Each card was an individual page, and then we removed that because we were like, we have no options anymore. And now we're back to it's growing again. So but
and the download diagnostics, by the way, visible here too in the integration page.
Wow, couldn't hide that.
No, no, because that's not a spoiler. It was on top of this.
Oh, that's true.
Improve handling of device tracker entities. Okay, I'm just gonna hide the screen because it's gonna be a big one. Now, so device trackers is one of the very first integrations that I added to Home Assistant, right? Because I created Home Assistant first because I had Philips Hue and I wanted to like control the local API that they have on the bridge or hub. Then I wanted to use it, so I added like turn on when the sun was setting, the lights in my living room, and then I realized the lights were being turned on when nobody was home, so I added to add the device tracker. So really the device tracker is like the fourth integration, because the third integration is the device sunlight trigger integration that still exists to this day to turn on the lights in your living room as like a standalone automation integration. And device tracker has kind of like it has improved a lot over the years, but it still has been, we do a lot of backwards compatibility stuff, so it supports a lot of different approaches to loading the device tracker. And as we were moving to config entries and having these entries in the UI, what started to happen is that device tracker platforms and of the integrations, for example, Unify, they would create a device in Home Assistant for every device they would find on your network, because that's kind of how our system was designed, right? Like, hey, it's a device, it's a device. Now, the problem is, of course, that if you have an active network, or you have certain Apple and I think also Android certain devices, they will randomize their MAC address, or that's an option. And so you end up with a shit ton of devices that some of them, like some people had like over 1,000 entities and devices just from the Unify integration. And that just means that the rest of the system is like, every time you have to pick an entity picker or a device picker, it gets so big and it becomes unusable. So we had to find a better way. And so in this release, what we're doing is that device trackers will no longer create devices. Instead, device tracker integrations will attach itself to existing devices based on the MAC address. So if Unify finds for example, Unify sees that WLED device is connected to your router, and it sees that you have WLED configured, it can map those up and it adds a device tracker entity for WLED to the device created by WLED. Right, yeah. And
Yeah, that's correct.
and all other entities that are not currently mapped by an IoT device, they will be disabled inside the entity registry. So you can still enable them, and so you can still use them. They're not in your way normally. And if you would, for example, set up an ESP home device later, and then the device tracker integration will see that a new device is added, map that against the existing entities of the device tracker, and automatically add an entity for the device tracker, enable it, for example, to track your ESP home device. So what's really happening is that the device tracker integration is not acting like you would expect from other integrations. Instead, it just kind of provides data points whenever it can to other devices. And it will also clean up. So if you had a Unify setup and you had like a lot of devices, we will now go in, see if a device is only connected to a single device tracker entity, and then we will remove and clean up those devices so that you would, like, the mess we made previously is no longer there. So it's a bit complicated to explain, I guess. I don't know if everybody was able to follow it, but I think that if you use Unify, you know what I'm talking about, and you're very happy.
It's the reason I don't use Unify, so I might reconsider it, right? So basically,
Right.
it just shows the entities that are known, or at least it shows device tracker entities for the devices it knows, and the others are disabled by default, so you can enable those piece by piece, the ones that you want, right? That's basically in a nutshell what it does. That's kind of neat,
Exactly.
actually. Still need to try it. Like, it's the main reason I don't use device trackers, because, well,
Right. So we also had another.
I just started using,
well, there you go. Well, now it's good as long as you use the nightlies for the latest release.
Actually,
No, but we
it was
also
on
had actually a
beta.
new feature, right? We had a new feature built on top of this, but we pulled it. So you might see in some other people that did like pre-release notes, the podcast did, and everything smart home. They were talking about like how zones have like a state now. We pulled that. So, but it will be back. It will be back.
Yep.
All right.
What's next?
Scenes now have a state. Frank, you want to do this one?
Yeah, sure. So we had, like, in December, we did we added the new button entity, right? And the button entity is actually a stateless thing. So we had an issue at that point to define, like, what is the state we give that button? So we decided to give the button entity the state it was last, the date timestamp of the time it was last pressed. So that made us think like we could use this maybe in other places. So we did. We added it to scenes, which means that we can now keep track of when a scene was last activated, but also we can act on the fact that a scene has been activated because the state changes. So you could, for example, if the watching a movie scene triggers, not only handle your lights and all the other things in the scene, we could also maybe do a TTS announcement or even start playing media through additional automations if you want to, because you can trigger on the fact that that scene is triggered. So this is, I know it's a little change, but it makes scenes a little bit more, usable in a different way, I would say. And I think especially the history is kind of nice to see. You can now see when the scene was activated at Maui.
I think
Well, and
that's
I think
a big part of it.
the other thing that's really nice is that a state change is always has a context attached to it, like a unique identifier, and this identifier propagates. So now you can actually see the state change of a scene, and then you can find all the states in the state machine that also have this context, so you can actually see what devices were impacted when this scene was activated. And this is maybe even better, is this device still in the representing the state that the scene set? Although that can be a little unreliable if like some integrations have their own state updates.
I have some scripts which trigger scenes and doing other things. And now I can just make an automation and say if someone triggered a scene with whatever voice assistant, then doing also that things in automation instead to have 5 or 10 scripts just for having that together. I like that change.
That is actually a very nice use case. I like that.
Right.
I'm sure there'll be a lot of use cases come up in the community too. So watch Reddit, watch community stuff from this.
I
Yeah,
think he was
actually,
dropping.
talking about scenes, I saw this question. Is it possible to roll back scene state? So currently we don't do this. Like if you want to do this, so you cannot turn a scene off, but if you want to do this, you can store the devices that are going to be impacted, and then restoring that state later.
Yeah, you could take a snapshot, like create a temporary scene of the state right now, and then do something else, and then restore, like trigger that scene that you created temporarily again. And well, that would basically like revert what you did before and put everything back in as it was.
Yeah, we used to have turning scenes on and off, and is a scene on logic inside Home Assistant, but it's very unreliable because, for example, I set Philips Hue to a brightness of like, I don't know, 120 out of 255, because that's the scale we use in Home Assistant. Maybe Philips Hue uses percentages. So when I set the value I get back in the state update might not exactly match the scene. And so we no longer know if the scene is active or not. And so we removed actually turning off a scene. And so, for rolling back, you can build this logic yourself, but we don't offer it out of the box anymore because it's just very difficult to make it reliable.
Yeah, but I guess the example from Frank is quite good. You can just make a new scene as the current snapshot, change things, and later just trigger it again to go back.
Yep.
Right. Ready for the next feature? Boom, boom, boom. Oh!
Yeah.
Sure.
That was hidden.
That arrow just moved to the left a little bit. It was hidden underneath the arrow, you know?
I actually had to redo that screenshot because I didn't save the source. It was so stupid. Okay, no.
Zach, you want to talk about it?
Yeah, sure. So new search icon in the configuration panel. You're able to search any pages, anything you want to navigate to really easily using the little search icon. And one of the biggest kind of hidden features about this little search button is the search bar already existed. We're just calling it with the icon, the little button icon. In any page in your Home Assistant dashboard, whether you're on a configuration page or a Lovelace dashboard or wherever, you can press C, like the letter C, and get to this search bar. So if you're on your desktop, you're on your computer, you're on your laptop, press C, and that search bar will pop up, and you can then type in whatever you want to, click enter, and that'll navigate you to a configuration page, a Lovelace dashboard, energy, wherever you need to go. So it's a really easy, quick feature that, yes, we're giving you the option to click this little icon now, but this already existed. So make sure to take advantage of that.
I'm gonna show it. Okay, I'm
Good. A live demo. Did you focus on the right thing?
It didn't work. Of course.
There you go.
Yep.
Now, so this feature existed for a long time, and really just now it exists here as well. Yeah.
We're constantly streamlining this search bar experience too. So this could be a lot of good stuff coming with this next release as well.
Yeah.
Currently is C and E, I think, for the keyboard, right? So E is for entity search and C is for commands, but yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, now more people will be able to find it, so it's gonna be really good.
Yeah, we just got a comment that I had no idea. It's it's like it was announced, but it's really hard it's really easy to just miss, right? Like you never use it because it's really it's not just staring you in the face, so it's there. Make sure.
I use it on the beginnings, and then I forget the shortcut, which one it was.
Now, I think just having that icon somewhere. I mean, we talked about it with the iOS, and Android developers that they also want to show it to the users, right? Like, how are you gonna? There is no keyboard on a phone, so this icon is definitely gonna help with that too. I mean, of course, it's inside the config panel, but it's at least somewhere.
It's reachable.
Yeah, and I think are the Android or I think maybe the iOS, they working on like a gesture as well.
Yeah, so I think iOS has a gesture already.
I think isn't it 3 fingers down or something?
No, that's server select.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
it's really
someone
cool.
said 3 finger slide on Android.
Yeah, I see a 3-finger slide on Android, but
you can also press C and then enter restart, and it search all actions which take into that. So it's really helped. You are really fast if you want something to reload or restart or whatever you want.
All right.
EC.
It's listed in its notes, by the way. Here.
It's CV command C.
Yeah, command.
Well, when we created shortcuts for our quick bar, we initially had like Command P or like Control P on Windows, and we decided to not do it because we don't need. We're not an editor where you're typing, right? So you can actually don't need to have all these extra shortcuts. So,
and plus a lot of control plus letters are already reserved, right? Once you press control, your computer, your browser, or whatever is already then looking for a command. So it could overlap, and just pressing C is very easy.
All right, button helpers.
That easy thing, just a button, press.
Right. You want to talk about it, Pascal?
Yeah, I mean, Frank did it or built it, so it's just a simple button which you can press and it's doing some things. And now in this release, we have a template for it, so you just can add a service behind this button and create your button with a service which you can just press and trigger.
Yeah. So we initially did not add this, right? We initially discussed like that's a script. And like also like the button helpers we didn't do in the initial release because we didn't saw the use case for it. But since we introduced the button entity in December, we got a lot of requests for it because people, well, I don't know, like to do create the entities. And I think the button helper actually has some more possibilities. For example, you could listen for a press on a button helper and trigger an automation. But in that automation, you could do different things if the button was pressed, right? And so you could have multiple buttons that do different things in a single automation. I think that is a quite cool and quite nice use case. And it was not that big of a deal to add because, well, like Pascal said, it's just a button. So we did.
Yeah, we're
There's a
getting
lot
really
less-
good at adding buttons. That's
They are appearing everywhere, right? Yeah.
Ooh. Templating enhancements. Yeah, so if you're using templates in your automations, scripts, whatever, template entities, of course, there's now a few things that you can go faster. So, yeah, the condition is one. You can just put in a template. And we have a new function, the immediate if. So this is a sometimes you end up with like Jinja can be pretty verbose, right? Like you have to write a lot to do like an if else statement. And with the immediate if, you can, you do the condition as the first parameter, and then you have the if yes, and then if no values. It can also be used as a filter, which is similar effect. There's a gotcha though, is that compared to an if else in your Jinja, it will only render the if or the else. But the immediate if, because it's a function, both true and false conditions will be rendered. So that's something to take in mind. But I think for a lot of times we're just like doing yes, no, home, not home, kind of like, a lot of times just translating states that are computer code basically to like human readable data, and their immediate if is going to be very useful. And yeah, you see in the comments, like a ternary operator, correct. The thing is that we cannot add syntax to Jinja. We can add functions, we can add filters, but we cannot just add like a question mark, because that's also not something that lives in Python. And
yeah, the reason why this is not called a ternary is because, well, it's not shown in this example, by the way. It has a third parameter, so it's not just yes, no. It also has another one, which is in case the statement is none. So it could be unknown, for example. So it could be yes, no, and unknown. It could return. So it's not really a ternary function. It's just, yeah, it's the immediate if. That's what it's called.
Yeah. Oh, we're already at the other noteworthy changes.
There's so many.
There's a lot.
There's so many of these.
Yeah. I mean,
can you show that one, that first one that you created, Paulus?
Yeah, I just clicked on my browser. That's why I like. Let me just. I'm like. Sorry, I double clicked on the edge of my browser accidentally, and then it maximized, and now I'm just like in recovery mode. Okay, 1 second. I will show. Let me see if I have something with one device. Oh yeah, let me just quickly set up my. Right, so WLED has one device. So when I click on it, boom, there it just opens the device info page. And if you haven't seen this before, what happens is that if you have something with multiple devices, it will open like all the different devices. It will open the devices page filtered by that integration. But of course, when you would have one device, it would just show one device, and of course you're going to click on that device. So now it will just open it right up. So big benefit. And this is, by the way, just the light behind me, as you can see. Oh, it didn't turn on.
It does. It's delayed. Probably a transition.
Computers. Here, by the way, you can also see download diagnostics is here. Visit device is here. If I would click visit device, it actually opens a WLED dashboard in a new window, so you don't see it actually. That's too bad. Yeah.
I really like these kind of changes. Like they're so small and so like I don't know. They improve so much.
Yeah. I wonder if I have my. I'm gonna quickly nail my Nest. Can see. I can demo the Nest stuff. If you Nest as a media source right now, I have only one event in my doorbell. It's like when I touch the doorbell, so it's not very useful. But you can show this at a cast as well. So when something happens on your doorbell, you can forward the motion event like somewhere else. So, boom, boom.
Doorbird.
Right now, let me just zoom in a little.
But something's on my list. I have a doorbird, and once it is simpler, then I will, if someone ring on the door, I will send the doorbird video stream to the nearest, what's the Nest frame, or what's that today called?
The Nest Hub.
A Nest Hub.
I mean, if the Doorbird is like a WebRTC stream, it will be possible. RTSP could, I think, no, that's not. Well, I guess you can just show the HLS stream from Home Assistant.
Yeah,
That could work.
stream.
But you need to make it easier, right? This is one of those things where I want the camera integration to become a media source to expose its cameras so that things like Cast can just one-click play that camera, right? Like a user shouldn't figure this out themselves. They should just be able to click around and do it.
So I'm going to interrupt you for a little bit because like it has been discussed quite a bit. On my screen, the builds have finished. So if you want to upgrade to the new Home Assistant release, you can do so directly after this this stream, of course, or now in between, like waiting.
Everybody's going to do it now, right? From their phone,
probably.
skipping all the breaking releases.
Breaking
Now the
changes. Yeah.
all the breaking changes,
Net-
yeah.
It's still built. So people which run a Home Assist container need a bit wait. It's running.
Yeah, that's almost done.
Yeah, but the operating system should have the update.
Yep.
Nice. All right, other noteworthy changes.
This is a little thing. Discover devices show you can now visit the device too and find the documentation. It's one of those things like, hey, I discovered something. I want to know more, or what is it, or how to proceed. You can now just go to the documentation. Small, simple.
Oh, nice.
More of
Before
those
you
details.
add configuration.
Yeah.
I mean, I really like these kind of like, it's relatively small for us to add these kind of features, but it really helps in just tying it all together. It's like, oh, which device is this? Like, how should I name it? Oh, now you can just look at it and be like, oh, that's this device.
Yeah.
Trigger IDs. I moved it away. I was done with it. So in automation triggers, you used to have, you could set a trigger ID. It used to be in another input field, and it would be available on every trigger. Now, trigger IDs are actually only used if you're using templates and variables, and a lot of people will use it in their conditions or making a choose later to have many triggers feed in like different actions to have kind of combine many automations in one because they're all related. And trigger IDs are great for the people that use them, and they were kind of confusing for the people that didn't. So we decided to move it into the overflow menu. And so it will automatically show up if it has been defined or if you edited it in this session. Otherwise, you can always just show it by going to the overflow menu, click edit trigger ID, and it will be there. So it's not gone. It's just a little bit more hidden away. It will make it easier for us also later in this year, where hopefully we will, give some more polish to our automation editor.
I've seen some ideas like graphical things like that was cool. So I'm really excited for improvements on this. Oh, Apple TV.
Yeah.
I think that's a big one. Apple TV now, tvOS 15 now finally works, which has been broken for a couple of months, I believe. But that's now all like working again, so that's awesome.
Right. Yeah, it's always a bit trickier because like Apple doesn't give us like, hey, this is all the breaking changes of how you were integrating. So people are figuring this out like as we go, and so sometimes it can take a while, but it's back, so that's good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like everyone is like, oh, Home Assistant broke my Apple TV integration. Actually, Apple TV broke your Apple TV integration. They won't tell us or anyone whenever they're breaking something.
I like how you described that. That should be like in the alert box. If we create that, and Paul suggested this, Apple broke your integration. Like that. That's epic.
Yeah, what else is on the screen? I mean, the low latency
Google.
HLS. That sounds like it's a lot of difficult words, but basically, the camera stream should be faster. It should be like there should be less delay. If you use Nginx in front of Home Assistant with HTTP2, then it will actually like always use the new format. Now it will only use the new format if there are less than 2 cameras shown on the screen. Otherwise, we starve the connection pool because it uses a lot of more connections, which is fine for HTTP2 because it's multiplexed. But yeah, so cameras should be faster. What else? Google, if
Google
you set
Assistant.
Google manually, it has the possibility to do local communication now. So that's something that has been available for Home Assistant Cloud for a while, and Luke has now hooked it up also so that the manual configuration is able to do this.
So again, you don't have to do anything if you're using Nabocasa, Home Assistant Cloud, whatever.
Right. Yeah, it's still very fragile though. So there's a lot of like gotchas, but that's
They didn't make it easy yet.
no.
Google? Really?
Google. Google.
The thing with Google is that they create very, they will go very engineering, technical, like, wow, look at all the possibilities we unlock and no use case is not covered, but it becomes so complicated. Or, like with the Nest, the thing I was just showing, they send the motion events as like a video file with 10 frames that you then yourself have to delay when you're showing it to the user. But this was the most compressed way they can send you 10 frames because it can use like keyframes or whatever. And it's like, great, Google, that's a very smart move. And now everybody implementing this API needs to like build an MP4 decoder or whatever.
To
right?
delay the video.
So Alan like takes the MP4s and it's converted to GIFs that are like delayed. Like
That's crazy.
Yeah, Alan's really good with that stuff.
And B frames are difficult.
Yeah, what else? Hardware versions is also now in Home Assistant, so it helps users kind of identify the hardware and helps also in like diagnosing issues, which has been like a big push this release. It's like, hey, how can we make it easier for developers also to help users, like fix bugs, right? Because like getting an issue with this thing doesn't work, and then a random stack trace, well, we don't know what caused it. And now with kind of things like hardware revision, we can find patterns and like kind of drill down to what it is together with diagnostics.
The documentation from manufacturers are different than the data which you then at the end get, and so it helps
say
relative from the documentation to the reality.
Right, let's see what else. Magic Home, tons of PRs I've seen going in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
that thing is now like shiny.
pet feeders from Tuya.
Yeah, but like, sure, why not? Like,
Yeah,
cool. I've seen some screenshot of people working with that. By the way, that's kind of cool. Like they have a camera in the feeder too. Like you can see that your cat, not only like you can feed it, but you can see it was fat. It's kind of crazy. I think.
Volume has
oh,
no
talk.
report.
I see Philips U at the bottom. We finally found a proper fix to avoid all the 503 commands, the hub unavailable. So it should all have been addressed now in this release. So it should, if you had issues, especially with bigger installations, controlling many lights in a single script, hopefully now it all works. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, all these are nice updates, I guess, if you're into those.
Yeah,
The
scroll
use.
by them. There are many. Philips is cool.
Yeah.
No,
New stuff.
some
Some new stuff. Yeah, that's cool. By the way, there's some new integrations. Quite a few actually.
Right. Well, also a lot of this is long-term statistics, right? It has just
Yeah.
been like entity categories. I love how like all these kind of improvements we've added, like in the last few releases, are still like being added to more integrations. Oh boy, does it fit on one screen?
No,
Not
that's
yours.
the great thing about it.
Watch this.
Unify Protect at the bottom is pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
so Unify Protect was a really it was a custom component, and the team behind it, like it was really mature, really good, and the team behind it has worked a lot to get it all into Home Assistant. So that's really good to see. Um, yeah, let's see what are the other like the ones that stand out to me. The Open Meteo, the one by Frank, that's a new weather service, right?
Yeah, it's fully open source, which is kind of nice. Which was my main trigger. There's still needs to be work done there. I got some other ideas, but it now has implemented a simple weather entity in the card. But it's cool to see like an open source, open system for weather. Actually, there are no API keys involved, no registration, and I kind of like as a project like Home Assistant, we have to have respect for those kind of things, right? So that's why I added it actually. So I don't know. We'll see how it will develop and goes. But there's a start.
Let's see. Yeah, the RTSP to WebRTC. That's kind of a funky one. Like that's Alan, he's been the one driving the Nest integration, and he basically WebRTC cameras are faster to get you the video, and they tend to set up direct connections, so everything around it is faster. So basically, your phone will tend to talk directly to the web RTC source. So if you have like a Nest camera, your phone will set up a connection to the Nest camera without having to go through Home Assistant or Google. Now, what this does is that it actually offers to make other cameras available over WebRTC. So we cannot do this automatically yet because it relies on like an extra server that is needed. But with that being set up, then it works very nice.
Steam mist. That's by the way cool. That's a shower, I think. Like I haven't thought about it yet. I haven't thought about like having my shower as a smart device in my home.
I wish my shower was so smart, so I could just turn it on before I wake up. You know.
All right, that would be cool.
I'm actually looking at it now. So it has like a steam generator that apparently needs to be on before you use it. So I guess this is how you can kind of warm it up before you use it.
Yeah, that's like yeah. I've actually been thinking about getting like a water pump or something to. It takes so long in my new house to get hot water. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's always interesting. Like, how much features do you want to put in your shower? Presence detection, person detection.
You know, I mean, once you get in the shower, don't turn off the lights like you normally do, type of thing.
I can
Now,
actually information from my boiler that the hot water is tapped for the shower. So that's kind of nice. I can actually know if the shower is being used because, well, so I use that to control like the bathroom ventilation, like turn it on early
nice.
before the humidity goes up. So
mm,
that's kind of nice.
I have a humidity sensor.
right. What else? I have so many tabs open by now.
Move to the UI, I think, is the next
Oh,
part.
yeah.
There's a decent amount of it at this release again, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Oh, the GitHub has been redone by Ludius. That was amazing, by the way. That
The
looks really
whole,
good.
yeah. Now it's really nice. So the whole old integration is pretty much completely rewritten.
Yeah. So there's one little gotcha with GitHub. If you use that, that integration cannot be automatically migrated to this release, so to the UI. So you have to reset it up, which in some way kind of like it's a bit of pain in the ass, of course, if you're dependent on it quite a bit. But it's really nice if you go through it, and then it will all be better. I promise.
Can you make automation if someone open a PR on your repository?
You could.
Nice.
I think so, yeah. I think you can have PR counts for repositories you can enable.
Yeah, the last PR is in there, I believe.
Nice.
Number of open issues, and it
Because
has
I have
long-term statistics on it.
really small repository, and I miss all time if someone open a PR on that because I have too many notifications just not work in GitHub for me.
For me, what's annoying, some repositories I want to monitor, but only normal PRs and not like dependency upgrades from Dependabot, and that's not possible, right? So it's like I wish I could like filter out bots and just give me real human notifications.
Yep.
Who knows if it's coming? And then we have a couple of breaking changes.
I just realized I'm the first breaking change.
Yes, I did that on purpose. Like you're a new guy, and so everybody is like, "Oh, he's new. That's okay."
Yeah.
Move it
No,
to
so
YouTube.
Zach to really make an impact.
Yeah, already making people mad. No, but the energy dashboard configuration has moved from its own menu item in the configuration menu to be under dashboards, and it's not just Lovelace dashboards. It's going to be energy dashboard, and then in the future, hopefully more dashboards come.
Well, I mean, we have media dashboard. We have the, there's maybe it's not fully a dashboard, but
right. But so to configure your energy dashboard to get back to the same page, all you have to do is go to configuration, go to dashboards, and then click on your energy, which should be at the top. We made sure it was at the top, and it's also highlighted to note that it is different than the others. So it is very easy to find now that it's in there. So go check that out and change your configuration, but it is there.
So we're not going to go through all breaking changes. A lot of these breaking changes have been driven by either things moving to the user interface or things that have moved to the user interface. Then eventually we remove the YAML configuration, and those have been cleaned up as well over the break. So that's why a lot of these things are here. But a few are noteworthy, which are on the top. Python 3.8 support has been dropped. So we always, whenever a new Python version comes out, and they do that yearly now, we deprecate the old Python version, and then after a while we remove it. So that's happened this release. If you use, basically the only people that really impact this is the people that are running their own Python virtual environment. If you use Home Assistant Container, Home Assistant Supervised, or Home Assistant OS, use the full package, it is just automatically done for you, so you don't have to worry about it at all. Which is why we offer that, right? Like you don't have to worry about like upgrading Python because you shouldn't have to even know how that works.
Yep, as a matter of fact, all those people have been running a newer Python for quite some time already.
Right.
has been faster.
Yeah, and I think soon we'll get the container also up to Python 3.10.
Yeah. Normally we upgrade around summer, so
Yep.
then all big bugs are already fixed and packaged.
Yep.
All right. GPIO integrations. So we've made a decision that we don't want to support integrations that talk directly to the GPIO, to sensors and these kind of things from Home Assistant. These Home Assistant boxes are generally in cellars or they're next to cable boxes. And so this is a very, very small use case. And a lot of these integrations are not well maintained. They rely on drivers that are old. And basically, using things like ESP Home, it is a lot. That's really what's meant for this. There's either ESP Home or there's MQTT IO, which forwards all GPIO pins and make them available over MQTT. So we decided to deprecate them as per architectural decision record 19. Basically, we will remove them from core, but it doesn't mean that they are forbidden. As in, you can you can create custom components from them. They will probably show up in hacks. Somebody might upload them, or you can use add-ons to use GPIO with Home Assistant.
Yeah. So one of the things that comes around already, a couple of discussions here and there, is like, hey, but like the Raspberry Pi GPIO integration is used quite a bit. Well, it's around like 0.05% of the users ish, which is it is actually quite a bit of users, but like 1,000 or something are registered. But that's the only one of all the GPIOs we are draft deprecating, and it's a big list. And we decided to draw a line there. And I think that, especially that integration, would be great to see as a custom integration. So I hope somebody stands up and actually does that, because it's not our goal to forbid it or make it impossible to use. It's just hard for us to maintain and keep maintaining and keep things working, and without having like big use cases for it. There are many exceptions where it doesn't work, and that's what causing also maintenance. Like people asking a lot of questions and reporting things that do not work in such cases. So it's not just keeping them around; it's also supporting them. That costs time.
And so people have asked about what about serial over GPIO, and that's still available.
Yep.
So it's only actually using the pins directly.
I think the logs for groups, that's an interesting one to report. If you have locked groups, this is something to watch out for. So if you create a group with logs, they have been reversed actually in the group, and it was wrong. It was the other way around. So it has been corrected now, but to make everything the same. But it can have an impact. If you're using logs with groups, please make sure that you read this change and adopt to it.
I mean, I don't know if we should go over all the other.
No.
Definitely not.
I see some people
A lot.
talking about group UI, and that's definitely on the roadmap. It's
Yes.
maybe even next release. We don't know yet if it's gonna make it. But things.
It'd be tight, but it is something that everyone wants. So
Including us.
Everyone. So it's definitely
Yeah,
going to be coming.
ever.
We want everything to be, an option to configure it in the UI, right? Because that's just streamlining the experience, right? So
Yeah. So the first step is going to be we need to do some UI updates to make it easier to select entities and stuff as part of like configuring generic config flows. But all that stuff is like we've already discussed it, and like whenever the dust settles from this release is when we start looking at it.
Yep.
Yeah. So that will be very nice. And then, of course, there's the groups we have right now are light and cover, and I'll probably forget a few.
Media. Yeah, there are a couple more added lately.
Yeah. So yeah, and then I
Groups
think that
are
should
groups are
be
very
group
nice.
for every entity type eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would be nice to have it for all of them, right? Like we're
Yeah.
talking about streamlining, that would be nice.
Yep.
So that's
Consistency, like you said, Frank.
Sorry?
Said you like you said earlier, consistency with every entity domain or entity type.
Should have a
Should-
group.
As a platform, so Sonos can add the group as platform and support grouping speakers.
I think it can actually. Well, no, that's only for announcements, and that doesn't work, I think, on Sonos that well.
yeah.
I use search
Thomas,
results.
Thomas Loven says template entities from the UI. So I think that whatever. So I mean, I can already kind of give like a little teaser, but like our idea is going to be to add config flows and have config flows for all these different integrations, but then make sure we filter them out in the UI, where you have your integrations page, which is really about integrating other devices and services, and then use config flows for templates and other stuff in a different page that will yet have to name and whatever. But it's going to also be tricky. Like things like the YAML configuration of a template entity is crazy, right? Like nowadays, especially somebody added trigger entities, and now it's like you can have a trigger that defines like 5 entities at once with the trigger output. And I'm not sure how we're gonna completely put that in the UI, but maybe
Yeah.
just box and just like write your YAML here.
we should like think about the fact that like there are things possible in YAML that would be hard to grasp in a UI. And yeah, sometimes like that will be the only way. But if we have to make sure that if you go that route, then it has to have like it has to be an edge case. That would be the end goal, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's it for this release. Are there any like UI stuff that we forgot? Probably.
There's so
I mean,
much in
probably.
this release.
Yeah.
It is like we just like this release is like composed of all kinds of nice little touch-ups, right, everywhere, and nice little additions, and like making it like I don't know, it was just really cool. But there are so many of those that like not all have been mentioned. There's something in here for everybody.
There's a lot. I'm sure we'll see them and be like, oh, we probably should have mentioned that. But there's a lot of stuff, a lot of
Yeah.
contributors through the front end repo that they're all noteworthy. But this is such a big release; it's hard to see everything.
Yeah, thanks, Frank, for writing the release notes. I know it's really hard. So after 3 weeks, you just forget that it's new because it's already used in the nightly.
Well, thank
So it's
you.
hard.
This release was hard, and especially indeed for like I don't want to complain that much about it, but it's just a lot, right? It's like two and a half, more than 2,500, like 2,600 or something contributions, and I really go through all of them to find the one that are interesting, right? And that's just a lot of work. This release was a lot of work to do that.
Well,
and then write something about it, right? Like look at
Mhm.
the change and can we make that understandable? So this was a lot, and I'm sure I missed something or maybe misjudged something that was more valuable than I consider it to be. But that's just part of like the size of this release, right?
yeah, it was too big.
And it was kind of fun as well. I kind of like doing the release for that matter, because like it's a refreshment of what happened. Like you said, like everything that's passed 3 weeks ago, you kind of forget, right? And this release was 1 month and 25 days this cycle, so that's way more than 3 weeks. And we looked at it and was like, oh yeah, we did that, and oh right, this happened too. Was that this release? Didn't we release this yet? Like that happened a lot. That's kind of nice. Actually.
I had completely forgot about the device tracker stuff. Like that was early January or something.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna highlight a question I just saw. How about Home Assistant Yellow? So two things happened. We sent out an update last week with some photos of the case, and we sent out. Jeff Geerling made a very cool video. He got a prototype of the Yellow and put it to the test and started his Home Assistant journey. So I expect also more videos from him in the future. Not to say also about Home Assistant, but he also told us he might look into ESP Home. And most of the parts have been sourced. So right now it's Chinese New Year. It's the year of the tiger. Happy New Year to everybody that celebrate. And once New Year is over in China, then we're going to start with the engineering round. We're going to get a bunch more samples made. If they all look good, then we can start doing mass production. So the timelines we set out were very confident about them still. So that's good. And yeah, I'm glad that the biggest thing for the sourcing right now, I think, is still our compute modules that need to come. But those will come. So yeah, stay tuned. I wonder actually if I can. Do I have a photo of the?
I think the most
They-
recent ones are in Discord.
I think we are probably good in the time.
I don't know if this works. I lost you guys. Where?
The new
There you
rendering.
go. This is the side of the
Amazing.
case. I mean, the thing that has changed is that we have made these pins here with some air because it was too thick, and so this didn't dry correctly. It stayed a bit warm, and so that had to be updated. We're learning so many things about like case design here that I didn't realize we're all involved. But like, yeah, hardware making is hard, but it's going pretty well. So
It's not just a box.
um,
Do you guys have any cool things going on? Some new hardware, or are you playing with something?
Um,
You
I
have a whole
have,
house, like Zach.
I have a few things going on. A lot of may notice this is a very sketch setup right now. I mean, my lights are all weird. Can't really see me very well. It's very much still a work in progress. I am still echoing in here. I have nothing on my walls yet.
but well, you
it's-
moved last week, right?
I moved last week. Yeah. I think it's been like 5 or 6 days, maybe a week now that we've been in the actual house. So we've gotten a lot unpacked. I mean, I already have my both computers set up. I'm trying to get my setup for YouTube videos here set up. Need to get a backdrop that looks a little bit nicer color, but it's going pretty quickly.
But what? I mean, you have a brand new house. You're automating it, I think, right?
Yep.
What are you looking into? What are you getting, or what's the?
A lot. There's a lot to automate in a new house is what I'm finding. First thing, so that my wife doesn't kill me, is getting our lights back to being smart. One thing is she has noticed she actually does love what I do in making our house smart is because she's like, if I have to get up and turn these lights off one more time, I'm done. Yeah. But so getting the lights and getting those, I picked up some Zeus switches and to try
Z-Wave.
out. Yeah, so Z-Wave switches. Yep. That will start working pretty soon. I think they're getting delivered within the next 2 or 3 days, so that's going to be nice. Some sensors here and there, motion sensors, something that's going to be very nice. When you walk into a closet or walk into a room, have those kind of light up. But I'm probably going to put on my YouTube channel kind of the process of going through all that, all with Home Assistant and how to kind of set all that up. So.
That's awesome.
It's just fun to do. I feel for you. Like I've moved to a new device too, so I lost all my automations and stuff. I just started from scratch, which is kind of interesting actually to dive into from scratch. It's like you having a second chance, like a different view on how you do it. Like some things you don't change because it just has been like
Not
that,
worth it.
and now it's just all out, and you can start from scratch. It's kind of triggers you to do some things differently. It's kind of interesting to discover some new things. Even like for us, we're working on Home Assistant all the time, and you just discover new issues or possibilities, or you see new different things that people do different, or you could do better. And I think that's a really nice experience, actually.
It's a lot of work, so
Yes,
and
it is.
often.
But we actually now know, just like Zach just said, how a switch works again.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just in a
Yep.
new house. You have to first revert everything in the old house, then move into new house, and then touch
Yeah,
everything again.
it's also a
Yep.
lot of work. Yeah.
Yep. There's a lot of
Installation.
devices that we have to like delete out or remove the entities and stuff like that to kind of restart. Because like you know, some of the stuff I had, I was like, I'm not using it at all anymore. I'm kind of starting, you know, from new devices as well. Nothing from the same.
Right.
By the way, about just to loop back to the Home Assistant Yellow, I saw some people saying that they are having issues sourcing their own compute module 4. That is definitely correct. They are in high demand, low supply. But I read a tweet somewhere, and I'm not, so this is completely like not founded, but that Raspberry Pi is ramping up production as well. So there should be more compute modules available in Q2 apparently. So hopefully that will help you find your compute module 4. Yeah, I have mine already. But
I just switched to the blue. I'm actually pretty darn happy with that.
oh yeah, well I run my wrong. There's my blue.
I used to run on a VM, and now I can like shut that down and
Mm,
then don't use it. That whole machine, and the blue just keeps running, and it's very energy efficient. So I'm kind of happy.
that's nice, yeah.
Yeah. And it's like it also looks really good, you know.
Yeah, well, I haven't put it in plain sight, which is kind of my bad. So I cannot see how beautiful it is, but it runs smooth.
Yeah, I had mine in my closet because that's where all my network cables are. But I decided to move it to my office so I could use it in, you know, possibly in the backdrop, possibly just here as I'm making videos. But it just looks so darn good.
That's nice. Well, the yellow will also look really good. It's
Yeah, I
even
was
in
about to say, and then eventually I'll get a yellow and
yeah, you'll have your own art gallery.
yeah,
The
exactly.
Home Assistant collection
Yeah.
of 2.
I mean, I run Home Assistant on a lot of devices. My test
Well, you
network is,
actually have your own gallery behind you, right? Like a whole closet.
yeah, it means that's the office, but in a cellar behind I have a rack with a lot of devices in, just to make sure everything is stable on a runtime over a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't really been playing with home automation stuff, like not new stuff. I mean, I got this guy.
Oh, yeah,
That's
is that
my
the battery one?
that's my doorbell. That's a Nest doorbell. It's battery
Nice.
powered. It's battery powered with video, which is kind of wild. But
Yeah.
basically, you use it as a phone, right? Because I can just press this button and then my phone will ring, so then I can just like talk to the person. It's a really basic video calling device too. But it's just on my desk, making sure that it doesn't ping my phone the whole time. But yeah, I do like the device.
I got the Son off still here on my desk, which I really want to play with. The Son of.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the
what's it
NS
called again?
panel.
Yes, the NS panel.
Yep.
That's the term. I still want to play with that.
I have one of those too.
I haven't hooked it
I'm
up.
like, I need to pull it out of the box. I haven't even looked at it yet.
Yeah.
No, so Jesse has figured out the NS panel, right? So you should be able to. It should be easy
Yeah.
to get started with it.
Yeah. That's what I want to do is make sure I can, you know, do it the right way. But that'll be like the first time I've tinkered with something like that. Usually I'm just kind of like a, you know, non-hardware like flashing type of person. But want to try that out.
I adore my ESP home stuff. I really.
I need to buy some. Yeah.
It's butter smooth. It just works. I just love it. And if you look at the dashboard and everything Paul has did there, and
Well, yeah,
the
that
UI
stuff
and the features
awesome.
added, it's
Yeah.
so
So at this point in time, it's like no brainer because it is so easy to even get started with ESP Home now because of the web tools.
That, for the people that are not aware what ESP Home is, like you have these chips, ESP8266 or ESP32s, they're microcontrollers, and you can use YAML to configure how you have set up your microcontroller, and ESP Home will create software for it and install it on your device. And then it will just work with Home Assistant. So basically, you can buy a temperature sensor connected to a microcontroller, throw it somewhere in the corner of your house, and it will just be with ESP Home integrated into Home Assistant, updatable over the UI and whatnot. And
it makes it really easy to have any type of device, right? You just buy the sensor for it, you put it into an ESP Home, or you put it into an ESP device, and then use some YAML.
A bunch of those wall plugs as well, with power monitoring, which I put behind freezers and boilers and all kinds of places with ESP Home on it to get my power usage monitored in the energy dashboard in Home Assistant. And
That's
it's
cool.
just like those things just work. And behind the freezer is actually really cool because you could like detect if like it's draining too much power over time, which could indicate that the door is not closed, but also like it's off and it's not using power. That's not good because, well, the food goes to waste. So it's kind of, yeah, it's you can do a lot with a lot of simple logic, like for the washing machine, detecting if the power usage drops below something, and then publish a binary sensor to Home Assistant with the washing machine is running, yes or no. You can automate on that really easy. It's really cool and nice to work with. I enjoy that so much, and it just works.
So, two things. Somebody asked about the NS panel. Jesse responded. He has an NS panel component, and he has a custom next-gen UI because the display is actually its own kind of microcontroller that kind of does stuff.
Is it? It's two things, yes.
Yeah,
Wow.
you see, you send stuff to the next-gen and then it renders itself. Like the rendering, I think is not.
Right. It looks really cool, by the way.
I have a full drawer just full of smart devices at this point that I need to start putting up.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
Hey, I just saw. I just got to intercept. I see a question. Some people are getting warnings running on non-supported operating systems that Home Assistant will quit. Now that is a new feature, but and this is also a breaking change. There's a command line flag to override it or bypass it, whatever you want to say. So yes, by default we quit because we know this is not going to be supported and you're going to have a bad time. But if you are aware what you're doing, you can add the command line flag. And I don't actually know the command line flag.
Oh, that's the if you run directly on Windows something.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but that
dash ignore OS check.
Yeah, it should show
So
it in the
Adam, add that to your command line and you'll be good.
Yeah, but I have to say, you should not. Like, if it's really like something will break or not function as it should be, or not behave as the intention was, I would definitely recommend on like keeping it within the supported boundaries because that's tested and that's what's being built on. And
yeah.
Oh wow, it just comes off. Okay, never mind.
And Frank broke it.
No, it's not broken. It seems like a connector, so it's kind of like it's supposed to do that or something. Anyways, all right. I think that's almost it for this release, right?
Yeah, I think that's about right.
It was a great release, and I'm very sure that the next release will be also that much great, when not greater.
Yeah, I hope everybody likes it.
Yeah, Me too. Let's respond like something. I don't know. Leave a comment here. Like, what's your favorite feature for this release? Right? What's the thing that you like the most? It doesn't matter if it's large or small, but I'm just curious on what type of change that triggers most people. I think that's
Right.
interesting. So if you could spare a moment, just leave a comment here in the video and tell us what is it you like the most of this release.
Leave a comment here. You can go to Twitter. You can go to Facebook. You can go to any platform and just kind of tell us what you love about the release. There's so much there. Use the release, then come back and say this is what I love, or tell us now. However you like.
And
Yep.
and don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yeah. That's my job. Yeah, good. Like and subscribe. I'm like right below or right above the subscribe button. Like and subscribe.
right.
Pascal
All right.
is right up. Or no, actually, it's Pascal. Point down. There you go.
No, I think check update will be the favorite. People can just look.
Yeah, that is nice.
For the next release.
For the next release, it will be the favorite one. Yeah. Well put. Well put.
All right. Well, I guess that's it then. It's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
See you all on the other side. Next month, we'll be back with another live stream for 2022.3. Don't forget to like and subscribe and enjoy the release. Cheers.
See ya.